the biggest story in South Africa today because everyone is fighting about the internet. And one specific internet company that hasn't been allowed to operate in South Africa until now, but soon might be welcomed in, and it could honestly be really good. It could provide internet to many South Africans and force the sector to provide cheaper, better internet to all of us. But obviously it's complicated because of who owns that internet company and why it doesn't currently fulfill the requirements to operate in South Africa. So let's talk about the biggest story going on in Mzansi today. The internet company Starlink is owned by Elon Musk, the man who inspired Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man superhero character in the film Iron Man back in 2008, and the man who is now set to star in the new Marvel superhero film Nazi Salute Man. Because yes, there it is, there's the official poster. Because yes, Elon absolutely did throw that Nazi salute twice. And no, to his defenders, his autism didn't make him do that. Breaking news, autism doesn't make you a Nazi. Otherwise, Love on the Spectrum would have been a very, very different show. Like a very, very different show. I don't think it would have got onto Netflix. Musk's defenders have tried to spin that the Nazi salute that he threw was just a Roman salute, a Roman Empire salute. But historians will tell you there's next to no evidence that the Romans ever did that salute. They did more of that kind of arm-cocked, cute kind of queer wave. And the Roman salute is actually, it was popularized by Mussolini, the world's first fascist, and then adopted by Hitler. And for decades and decades and decades, we've all known that that move, it's known as the Nazi salute. That's why we have memes like this. You see, everyone knows the danger zone. Everyone knows the Let's see together. Let's see. You tell me when I'm in trouble. Okay, first rule, never close your hands like this, but tell me when I'm in trouble. Am I in trouble? No. Trouble? 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 Okay, am I in trouble? No. Trouble? No. Trouble? No. Trouble? What I'm trying to tell you is we know when it gets dangerous, okay? We know where the danger is. We all know, and yet they try to pretend that that wasn't the case. Since Elon's salute and his prominent role in Donald Trump's second presidential term, his car company Tesla's value has plummeted as Tesla's owners have desperately tried to get rid of their cars. It's now so embarrassing to own a Tesla that Tesla owners have been buying stickers on their Teslas saying, "I bought this before we knew Elon was crazy." And Teslas are now being called swastikas. Yes, swastikas, which has unsurprisingly got Elon fans upset. But to those Elon fans watching the show tonight, don't be mad. You're just misunderstanding the swastika joke, guys. The swastika was first a Hindu symbol for peace and well-being, long before Hitler used it. Just because it became a Nazi symbol later doesn't mean people saying swastika mean the Nazis. It's kind of like a Roman salute. You know about the Roman salute, right? You just were speaking about it. And you should also know that everyone saying swastika has autism. So there's that. Okay, we're not throwing Nazi salutes. Nazi Salute Man has spent most of his time bashing South Africa. He has platformed and spread lies about farm murders and white genocide happening in South Africa. He has promoted disinformation about us on the dark place formerly known as Twitter, which he owns. He used his access to Trump to influence the American government to attack South Africa and create the Afrikaner refugee program. And he has also been lying about how his internet company Starlink allegedly cannot operate in South Africa because he, Elon Musk, is not black. We have already covered that lie on this show, but just to remind you quickly, the actual South African policy is that major communications companies operating in South Africa need to be at least 30% black owned. 30% black owned. All major communications companies operating in South Africa already comply with this, but Elon insists that Starlink can't operate here, not because they aren't 30% black owned, but because he, Nazi Salute Man, is not black. As we showed you months ago, even Elon Musk's own AI chatbot Grok called him a liar, which is really embarrassing. It wrote, quote, Starlink faces regulatory hurdles due to licensing requirements mandating 30% ownership by historically disadvantaged groups as per black economic empowerment policies. This isn't about Musk's race, but compliance with local laws. Ish. That's tricky, guys. His creation exposed his own nonsense. It's like the time Kim Kardashian's daughter North read her for filth about the way she changes her voice on her Instagram stories.
Why do I talk different for what?
For your videos.
For my videos, I'm the same human being. I don't talk different. Guys,
So today I got this new mask and these new bronzers. I got this.
Starlink cannot operate in South Africa, but that might be about to change. Minister of Communications Solly Malatsi from the DA has issued a policy directive recently to relax BEE restrictions in the communications sector, which would allow Starlink into the country. And this is the massive fight going down in our government right now about whether or not having Nazi salute man's internet company here is good or bad, and whether sacrificing BEE regulations for specific industries and companies is acceptable or not. So let's take a look. Would Starlink help South Africans? Well, it would probably get more South Africans on the internet. Starlink uses satellites to distribute internet connection, and so it might be able to provide internet access to rural parts of South Africa that are not currently covered by our communications companies already. It's estimated that more than 10 million South Africans don't have access to reliable internet. And Starlink has rolled out across more than a dozen African countries, including our neighbors Botswana and Eswatini. Starlink is cheaper in some countries than the traditional internet local service providers. And local companies like Safaricom in Kenya have been forced to drop their prices to be competitive, and they also improve their services by providing faster internet speeds to compete with Starlink. That's good for Kenyans. Competition between companies means cheaper, better internet. Millions of South Africans don't have access to reliable internet, and millions more can't afford much internet because of how expensive data costs are in this country. In fact, none other than legendary South African cricket player Dale Steyn came back from holiday in 2018 and complained that he paid 120 Rand for 25 gigabytes in Bali, and touchdown in South Africa had to pay 605 Rand for just 10 gigs. Now, newsflash, guys, Dale Steyn is not down on his luck. He is not struggling for money. Old Dale, the Paraboa Express, he's got cash. He shouted at the Australians for years, and we paid him well for it. But even he had the right to complain. Starlink's entry could seriously drag down prices for data in South Africa. But on the other hand, communications companies have enormous power all over the world because their services are so crucial, so vital for people to live their lives. If a communications company wants to meddle in a country or punish its politicians or influence its government, they have ways to do that, which is why it's so important that we regulate them properly. Starlink is owned by the Nazi salute man, a guy who has aggressively spread lies about South Africa and its government, bashed its elected leaders, and persuaded the world's most powerful country, America, to target and punish us. I don't want that guy controlling millions of South Africans' internet access. You may think I'm being dramatic. You may think that Starlink will do its work separately from Elon, and Elon won't meddle with his company to meddle with our country. But he literally did that. Last week, literally last week. If you're lucky enough not to be on Twitter, you should know that Elon's AI chatbot Grok is on Twitter, and if you tag Grok and ask it a question, it answers you. It's a largely unremarkable chatbot like ChatGPT. It's mostly decent, but sometimes it makes mistakes. But what happened last week was something else. That was not a mistake. If you have used a chatbot, you know that it really just answers whatever you ask it, right? It doesn't do anything unprompted. You don't ask it about cricket and it doesn't then tell you about your mother. Last week, all of a sudden, just as the Afrikaner refugees were arriving in America, Grok started talking about South Africa, farm murders, and white genocide in answers to questions about Taylor Swift, the Pope, and baseball. And I should make it very clear, Taylor Swift categorically has nothing to do with white farm murders or white genocide. I know the Swifties can be scary, guys, but not like this, okay? Grok pushed these conspiracy theories without evidence, unprompted, and millions of people read Grok's responses. Then we found out what was actually going on because, again, Grok told us. Grok told on Daddy Nazi Salute Man. In a response to a question, Grok wrote that its creators, Daddy Nazi Salute Man's company eNCA, instructed it to, quote, address the topic of white genocide, specifically in the context of South Africa. This instruction, quote, conflicted with my design to provide evidence-based answers. This led me to mention it even in unrelated contexts, which was a mistake. I'll focus on relevant, verified information going forward. Yeah, Elon's baby said that Elon and Friends' white genocide claims conflicted with its design to provide evidence-based answers. Your baby is calling on your monster, Elon. It literally said you have no evidence. It said your claims are unverified. Do you know how embarrassing that is? And Grok exposed you for trying to rig its programming to spread disinformation. Yo, are you not embarrassed? In the words of a famous South African newscaster, wow, wow, what a wow. That really happened. All of those Grok posts were deleted by the end of the week, but this was a terrifying moment nonetheless, because it exposed how the people in charge of mass communication systems can manipulate what we see and create fake worlds. They screwed it up so badly this time that we caught it, but maybe in future they'll do it right and deceive us all into believing lies. That's the problem. Do we really want to give Nazi salute man's companies so much power over our communications? The guy who got his AI chatbot to lie about white genocide in South Africa literally a week ago. And he has used Starlink to threaten people before. Ukraine's army uses Starlink in its war against Russia. And just 2 months ago, Elon threatened that Ukraine's entire front line would collapse if he turned Starlink off. If he says that about Ukraine in a live war, what could the South African government really do if Elon made similar threats here once critical systems started being run through Starlink connections? And then there's the entire debate about black economic empowerment. It has been a key transformation pillar in South Africa to undo past injustices and rebalance the playing field in a modern South Africa that still disadvantages black people when they try to get jobs. If you make an exception for one company in one sector, all other companies in that sector might have legal grounds to prosecute and change their own businesses from BEE compliant. Other sectors may also have legal grounds to undo their own transformation policies. And literally this weekend, reports came out saying that major telecoms companies in South Africa are already investigating whether to take South Africa's government to court for providing unfair favor to Starlink. So I can't emphasize this enough, and I don't think enough South Africans understand. This is a pivotal moment in South Africa. If Starlink is allowed to operate here, it could provide better, cheaper internet for millions and make the whole sector better. But it gives far too much power to a company owned by a man who has repeatedly shown that he loathes South Africa's democratically elected government and will use his company's powers to lie about, meddle with, and damage South Africa. Oh, and he's also the man that did this. A lot of this. Should we really be taking that risk, giving him that much power when other government policies could reform our communications sector as well without taking this risk? And should we be sacrificing a core transformation policy for this? That's the debate going on right now in South Africa's government that we all as everyday citizens should be caring about.